All right, all right. It is Sunday, November 9th. Welcome to another episode of Simple Life Philosophy. This one, man, I'm just going to talk about the state of the world right now because it's just been on my mind. It's just been so chaotic. Just I like to keep tabs on the space weather. And we're obviously just as a species just way more aware of our surroundings and our place in the cosmos than ever before. And it's just interesting to me that it's not discussed enough. Just for example, Three Eye Atlas and other asteroids. Like we're so aware of all just more aware, let's say, of all the flying objects flying through our solar system, and obviously Three Eye Atlas is a unique one. And it just seems so bizarre to me that it's not talked about more. There's not more stories on it that when we had an opportunity to take a lot of photos and capture a lot of information on it using our telescopes in the solar system, we really haven't. I mean, we have just blurry images of it, and it just, I don't know, man. I don't know what it really speaks to, but it's just interesting that, again, that this stuff is not kind of talked about more, that there's not more, that there wasn't more photos and just more, I don't know, dialogue around it, and just how truly unique it is. I think that we should be encouraging these type of discussions in the media because um, I think it just gets the next generation going. I mean, we have to be aware of what's going on in our solar system. Our existence is very fragile. We live on a rock and with a thin atmosphere. We live on a crust of a rock. Just this little tiny space when you really kind of extrapolate it out and kind of map it to, how big the earth is, and that we live on this crust and we have this thin little atmosphere that protects us. And a part of that is our geomagnetic field, and that's being affected by solar flares and the solar activity going on. And right now that's at a kind of a heightened period. The sun is in a very active period where there's a lot of solar flares and such, and that's affecting and charging up our magnetic field, and poses risks on our technology, depending if there's a giant flare launched, or a lot of just activity launched our way. And then also that has an effect on earthquakes, and we're also messing with our atmosphere. I don't know what kind of climate chemistry we're dealing with, between DARPA and other just dark agencies and weather manipulating companies that are out there. I just things that we're trying to play God here, and trying to, and that's not even. I mean, there's just so many segments of that of us playing God. Like for example, in the biology and chemistry of disease and viruses, and um, and then we have the government shutdown, and it's just, I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot, and when you're trying to find balance and peace yourself, as things get more expensive, and power gets more and more concentrated, with the rich getting richer, poor getting poorer, more, and people just being disenfranchised and not really having anyone that represents them in the political sphere of things. And it's a circus in Washington D.C., and there's just a lot of money waste, and the policy that does get passed, it's that gets enacted, is policies that benefit the people that are lobbying and paying off the politicians that are donating to their campaigns. So there's like a donor class and an underclass that doesn't get represented. And I, I don't know, man. It just, it seems like a lot, and all we're trying to do is just become well-adjusted individuals in it. Meanwhile, there's extremists on both sides. Is that extreme empathy side that's letting violent people that are violent to other people, provide grace to them, and then they, I don't know, it's just so much. They either migrate to parts of the world where they can commit more of this violence, or they're let out of prison where more violence can be committed to its citizens. And there's just like a lack of celebration to the people that are really civil to each other, that are trying to do the right thing for their families and for their communities. And meanwhile, it's just being disrupted and corrupted by a corporate class, taking money from them and not providing an adequate lifestyle, and then also just providing, I don't know, a magnifying glass on our just hedonistic tendencies. That's our hedonism is what gets rewarded and what gets advertised to kids, and in a direct and indirect way, because we're just preying on our lowest desires. Is our dopamine, like short-term gratification, is what gets promoted, and unfortunately, I think all this is going to come to a head where the roosters are going to you need eventually, and it's just I don't know where this all takes us. And it's like, well, becoming a well-adjusted person in this crazy chaotic world, what does that mean for you? Like, who are you? And maybe you should be calling out the injustices, but it's like, also, like, who am I to call out anything? It's not like I'm this, you know that well adjusted. I'm trying to get better, but I'm in no position to judge anyone, either. Be honest with you. I would love to sit here and say I've made nothing but great decisions all my life, but I've been a broad byproduct of a lot of this hedonism and short term gratification and addiction and drug use and alcohol use. And I wish I was over it, but I'm not. I'm still struggling with it to this day, and it's hard. It's hard, and it's like, well, do you want to be well adjusted to this chaotic world, or do you want to just enjoy yourself, because this chaotic world, it could just be over in a moment anyway, and you kind of have to balance that out for yourself. you know for those that with responsibilities and without responsibility, it's a very different life. And so it's just, I don't know. I just want to, I guess, pass on some encouragement that no matter what you're going through, you're not alone, and it's okay to feel that way, because it's not like society's doing you any favors. It's not like society's doing helping you out. Society's making us all crazy, all manipulating the people around you, and just in its hedonistic tendencies, like short-term gratification tendencies. Look up the word hedonism if you don't know what it is, and it's just all pleasure chasing. That's what we do, and that's what our culture is about, is pleasure chasing, and um, feeling comfortable, feeling relaxed. And how can we not cope? Like, how can we not continue to cope to this crazy world? It makes sense when you think about it, and I don't know the way out of it. I don't know how we get by it. I don't know how we get heal ourselves through it. So I don't know. I'm just kind of, I'm not making any answers. I'm not giving you any answers right now. I'm asking a lot of questions, but hopefully those questions can, I don't know, provide a little bit of encouragement that that this world is pretty crazy, and that um, you're not alone in feeling, I guess, the struggle. I, I don't know. It's just a lot of words, a lot of just activity going on in my mind, and competing activity. And I think there's a lot of just competing activity in this world, as well. And it's hard to put it all into words. It's hard to foresee where this is all going to lead us. But it does feel, not to be a big doomer, but it does feel like it's going to all come to a head at some point, and we're going to see some big struggle, some big mass suffering. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we can live through it. I hope we can heal and build something together. But I think as a species, we need to come together and have some sort of mission. And people say it could be some sort of alien psyop invasion. I don't think it's that, and I hope we don't need that for us to all come together and see the light in us, and see what we could do if we cooperate as a species, towards some singular goal. But I don't know what else. I really don't know what else could bring us together at this point. There's so much, you know, geopolitical divide. There's so much internal divide in countries, and so much corruption. It's so much evil, so much darkness. But I think there's also a kind of a spiritual enlightenment going on. But I don't know. A lot of competing forces, and it's just like, who's going to come out on top of these competing forces? And it just seems that there's a lot of just negative that's winning. I hope I'm not just being too pessimistic about it, but I'm hoping the light can win and seize the day, right? And get us to shift and work towards some big goals and work together on those goals. And the people that can't live, with some civility and help others and help the community, like we need to figure out what we do with them and how we deal with them. And not to say we should be too harsh, but we should study the human mind. We should have a curious nature about it, whatever that is, whatever that decision is, you know. But yeah, we should have a curious nature, but yeah, we should also protect the citizens and civilians out there that know how to behave properly in public and behave in a respectful manner. And so that we can build our society again, build the family unit, the community unit together, and figure out how we can really, I don't know, build a better future. Not to be so cliche, but build a future that we empower the kids, empower the next generation to tackle all the problems that we're about to inevitably leave them. So I'll leave it at that. If you have any questions, yeah, please comment, subscribe, like, or do all the things if you made it this far. Yeah, some days I try to have some encouragement, and other days I'm just thinking about asking questions, whatever. I'm just trying to go with the flow. So, anyways, I'll leave it at that. Many blessings to you guys. Much love and peace, and I'll see you next time.